So what I thought would be a really good video for you guys would be to do a step-by-step and a step-by-step guide of basically how to stay down through the golf ball. It's an area that most golfers reach out for help with, fed up of standing up, fed up of struggling with the downswing sequence. And what I thought is if we put together a sort of simple step-by-step sort of journey of how you get into the habit of staying down over the golf ball, I thought it would be really, really beneficial. So the first thing that we obviously want to be practicing is your rotational movement. And in a very simple way, what we want to be doing is just practicing, learning that we need to move the weight from right to left, okay? But we also want to do that whilst keeping the head still. So if I kind of get set up and put this club across my shoulders, the first thing you'd want to be doing is just spending a little bit of time, just concentrating on keeping your head still and just allowing the weight in the backswing to move in towards your trail side, and then the through swing moving in towards the lead side. Now, to be a little bit more specific, I think 50-50 is good. So if you sort of set up to the golf ball fairly 50-50, when you swing back, keep your head still, say 50% in your right heel, 50% in your lead toe, and then as you start the downswing, opposites, right? Trail heel towards, lead heel towards your trail toe. So you're just kind of doing a few swings where you're just keeping that head still. Still make sure it's a turn. So see the way I'm turning my body back and turning my body through, okay, like so. But this is the first thing. Now, the reason why it's so important is because we need the body to be tilted, okay? So we don't want to be sort of swinging back where we're sort of standing up like so. So we need to practice that tilted motion first. The way you get tilted in the golf swing is really easy. You just got to learn to keep your head still. The hard thing is just doing it and just practicing it. I meet a lot of golfers, high percentage of golfers' heads move around all over the place. It does cause an issue. So first thing you want to do, practice keeping your head still with the club across your shoulders. And obviously, depending on how you're currently moving, it'll give you differing sort of feedback. Now, once we start to do this, we get that sort of feeling, heel, toe, 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 heel, toe. Now, what we then need to start doing is thinking a little bit about the sequence of the golf swing. Okay, so I would get set up to the golf ball, and to keep it simple, what I want is I'm going to take the club back, okay, and I'm going to take the club back 4 to 6 feet, okay, and then when I'm doing that, my feeling is that again my head's going to stay still, and my feeling is that I'm just moving my hands and arms to the side of my body. Inevitably my chest will turn, there'll be an element of rotation, there has to be, but no consciousness, because again, if I start thinking about turning very early on, your head goes, and then that causes you to stand up. So you want to really feel like you're sort of stretching that club back, and again, pushing that club away from you. Advance it 4 to 6 feet, keeping the head still, and then from there, you can just get that feeling that you've just been practicing, where you let your arms go up as you turn your body, okay, like so. Now, unfortunately, the sequence is not necessarily the same coming in towards the downswing. So what we can't do is we can't sort of demonstrate this type of motion where we go hands and arms and then body, and then kind of go hands and arms and then body, because that will cause us to have more of a tendency to sort of swing over the top. So what we now need to be concentrating on is a little bit more like body and hands and arms, or at least body first. Now, if we go back to this exercise, keep my head still. And just the reason why I'm saying go back to this exercise is what's now important is that because you just practiced this backswing, so we should have a bit of recognition for where your hands and arms are when you're in this position. But now what I'm starting to do is I'm starting to make sure I get that feeling of the weight moving in towards my lead heel whilst my head stays still. Because this is, as my body moves this way, it's going to bring the club around. Okay, so we want to make sure we're doing that bit correctly. What we don't want to do is sort of, do something like this where we stand up or something. So you just bring that a bit of awareness. Now, once you've got that again, go back to this, 4 to 6 feet, up to the top, and then I was just practicing this motion. Okay, but I've got to keep my head still. And then what you can start to do is you can just let your arms come down with you when you're doing this type of movement, similar to like so. So I'm really focusing at this moment in time on that weight pressure, moving in towards that lead heel, whilst keeping my head still, whilst then allowing my arms to just sort of drop down and maintain that width. Now, width and feelings are really key here. So let's just bring it back again. I get set up, and what I said to you is when you take the club back 4 to 6 feet, you should feel like you're pushing the club away. So when you then complete that rotation in the backswing, you should still be thinking about pushing that club away with the same level of intensity that you did in the takeaway to here. Now, as I start my downswing, if I'm going to move like this, okay, what I certainly don't want to be doing is losing any of this width. I need to make sure that I am still pushing those hands and arms away from my body as I start coming towards this downswing position. Because unfortunately, the reason why the downswing can be so tricky is because we need to learn to turn while staying in posture because it produces the tilt. So you need to learn to keep your head still while shifting your weight pressure. That will there in turn lend itself to producing the tilts, which will help you move correctly over the golf ball. But what we also need to do is shift the pressure, and what we now need to do is change the sequence. So it goes from being hands and arms, or hands, arms, body, turn, to then more like turn and hands and arms. And I'd probably suggest you get that feeling of it being a little bit more body led on that conscious level first. So you'd be like so, hands and arms, turn, same width, hands and arms, same width in towards this position here. And what that movement is doing is it's giving us that ability to stay over the golf ball, and then from here we can just sort of concentrate on, again, just letting those hands and arms fall down as we continue to rotate throughout the golf swing. I always think do it that way first, okay, because I think golfers that get a little bit lost on just concentrating on the rotation in the through swing, you don't get the start of the downswing and you don't shift the pressure, and I worry about that. I see golfers that really, if you don't break it down into that transition, you end up really sort of struggling. So that's how I would sort of do it. And what you should find is that if you can get that sort of ability of hands and arms, turn up to the top, moving that body whilst keeping that head still, maintaining that width will get you into a position like so. And then from there, you can just concentrate on letting those arms drop down on the back of the golf ball. And I would just prioritize that because, like I said, I wanted to create a step-by-step routine to stop that standing up, or a step-by-step routine on how to stay down. And if you can learn how to rotate correctly in the backswing, apply width, and then do exactly the same thing in the downswing and just switch that sequence around, you're going to find that you're able to stay down, you're able to hit the golf ball a lot better, particularly once you get accustomed to these positions. It will take a while, like learning how to do like a dance routine, but once you do, it will take that game to that next level, as we see all of the elitist golfers move to this capacity. I'll see you soon.